assigned to protect the alien princess. No one told me what she truly was. The human officer had been on many assignments before, but this one felt different. His name was Captain John Cole, and he had been in the military long enough to know when something was off. His new mission was unlike any he'd been given before. He had been called to a distant planet in the Vyerthian Empire, a place known for its politics and power struggles. The Emperor's daughter, Princess Lyra, had been assigned a personal bodyguard, and he was to be that guard. It seemed like a simple mission: keep her safe, stay out of trouble, and report back. But as soon as he landed on the planet, he felt the weight of something more. The planet was beautiful, a place of grand palaces and lush gardens, but there was an undercurrent of tension that no one seemed to talk about. Everything was controlled, organized, almost too perfect. He had expected that from an alien empire, but it made him uneasy. His job was to protect the princess, and he had no time for second-guessing. Yet, there was something about this mission that made him feel like he had been kept in the dark. He arrived at the palace with little fanfare, escorted by a group of local soldiers who barely spoke to him. They didn't seem to care about his presence, as if the arrival of a human bodyguard was an everyday thing. The palace itself was magnificent, towering above him with intricate carvings and glowing blue stones embedded in the walls. The atmosphere was heavy, as if it held secrets that no one dared to speak aloud. As he walked through the grand halls, his boots echoing on the marble floors, the silence around him was almost oppressive. When he was finally brought before Princess Lyra, he wasn't sure what to expect. She was a young woman, probably in her early 20s, with long silver hair that shimmered in the light. Her eyes, though, were what caught his attention. They weren't the usual bright, innocent eyes of someone from a privileged background. There was something deep, almost sad in them, something that made him think she had seen more of the world than she let on. Her appearance was regal, as expected, but there was something about the way she carried herself that felt different. She didn't seem like someone who had grown up in a palace. There was a quiet strength to her, a presence that made it clear she didn't need to be told how important she was. "Captain Cole," she said, her voice soft but clear as she looked him up and down. "I trust you'll keep me safe." "I will, Your Highness," he replied, trying to hide his unease. There was something in her tone that made it feel like a test, not just a simple statement. Her gaze lingered on him for a moment before she turned away. "I have my reasons for being here, and I'll ask you to respect them. I don't need your protection at every moment, but I do need you when the time comes." The words hung in the air between them. Captain Cole didn't know how to respond. Was she testing him? Or was she simply stating the truth? Either way, it didn't matter. He had a job to do. For the next few days, he followed her wherever she went. The princess had a routine, spending her mornings in meetings with advisors, discussing matters of the empire's governance, and then retreating to her private chambers in the afternoon. She rarely spoke of anything personal, and her guards were always close by. Yet there was an undeniable tension in the air. It wasn't just the threat of political enemies or assassination attempts. It was something deeper, something more. Captain Cole watched her closely. There were moments when he could see something in her eyes, a flicker of fear, of uncertainty, that contradicted the calm demeanor she showed to others. He couldn't help but wonder what had happened to her. Why did she need a bodyguard in the first place? Was she truly in danger, or was there something else at play here? One night, as he walked through the palace corridors, he caught sight of her again. This time, she wasn't in the company of advisors or guards. She was standing alone in front of a large window, looking out over the vast gardens below. The moonlight bathed her in a soft glow, and for a moment she looked like a figure from a distant dream. Captain Cole hesitated, unsure if he should approach her. But before he could decide, she spoke without turning around. "You wonder about me, don't you?" she said, her voice soft, but there was an edge to it, as though she had caught him off guard. He swallowed, stepping closer. "I don't mean to pry, Your Highness." "No," she said, turning to face him now. Her expression was unreadable, but there was a hint of something there, something that seemed almost familiar. "But you do wonder, and I wonder if you'll ever find out the truth." The words she spoke sent a shiver down his spine. He had heard rumors about the princess, rumors that had been whispered in hushed tones, but nothing concrete. She was the daughter of the emperor, and people said she had a gift, a power that no one could truly understand. What if those rumors were true? What if the princess was more than she appeared to be? For the first time since he had arrived, Captain Cole felt like he was standing on the edge of something he couldn't see, something that was about to unfold, whether he was ready for it or not. The princess turned away from him then, returning to her contemplation, leaving him with more questions than answers. The following day, the atmosphere in the palace shifted. Word came that there had been an assassination attempt on a neighboring royal family, and tensions were rising across the empire. Princess Lyra's name was mentioned in passing, as though someone was trying to connect the two events. Captain Cole was ordered to increase his vigilance, to stay closer to the princess than ever before. But something in her eyes told him that the danger wasn't just from outside. There was something in her past, something hidden, that was slowly coming to light. He was assigned to a small unit of elite guards to patrol the palace grounds, but his true mission was to keep the princess safe. As he walked through the royal halls, he couldn't help but feel that the danger had already arrived. It was only a matter of time before something would happen, something he wasn't prepared for. But there was no turning back now. He had sworn to protect her, and he would keep that promise, no matter what it cost him. The days passed slowly in the palace. Captain John Cole was growing used to the quiet routine that came with guarding the princess. Yet, despite the calm, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Princess Lyra was a mystery. She rarely spoke about herself, and even when she did, it was always guarded, as if she didn't want anyone to truly know who she was. To everyone else, she was just the heir to the throne, a royal figurehead expected to carry on the family's legacy. But to Cole, she was becoming something more, a puzzle that needed to be solved. As the weeks went on, the princess's behavior became more unusual. There were moments when she would look out over the palace gardens, her eyes distant, as if she could see something far beyond the walls of her home. Sometimes, when Cole stood guard outside her chambers, he would hear her speaking in a language he didn't recognize, words flowing from her lips in a soft, melodic tone. He had asked a few of the palace servants about it, but they only gave him strange looks, as if they didn't want to talk about it. The language, they said, was ancient and forbidden, something the royal family never spoke of in public. Captain Cole's curiosity grew with each passing day. What was Princess Lyra hiding? Why did she speak in a language that no one seemed to understand? More importantly, why did it seem like the princess was constantly on edge, as if she was waiting for something, or someone, to happen? One afternoon, after a long day of patrol, Cole was walking along the palace walls when he saw her again. Princess Lyra was standing in a secluded corner of the garden, staring at a large stone statue of an ancient Vyerthian warrior. She was alone, her usual entourage of guards nowhere in sight. Something about the scene made Cole stop. He felt drawn to her, as if she was calling to him without saying a word. He hesitated for a moment, but then decided to approach her. As he walked toward her, he couldn't help but notice how still she seemed. The wind didn't move her hair, and the soft rustling of the leaves around her seemed to fall silent. It was as if the world had paused in that very moment. When he was close enough, he cleared his throat, but she didn't turn to acknowledge him. Instead, she spoke, her voice quiet but clear. "Do you ever wonder what's hidden beneath this world, Captain Cole?" she asked, her eyes still fixed on the statue. Cole stood there, uncertain how to respond. I don't understand what you mean, Your Highness," he said. She finally turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "There are things hidden from us, things we don't know about, things that are kept secret because they're too dangerous for anyone to understand. But sometimes, I think we should know the truth." He felt a chill run down his spine. The way she spoke was different, as if she wasn't just the princess anymore. She seemed older in that moment, wiser, and maybe even a little afraid. "I'm here to protect you, Your Highness," he said, stepping a little closer. "You don't have to worry about those things. If there's danger, I'll protect you from it." She looked at him then, her gaze softening. "I appreciate your loyalty, Captain, but there are things about me that even I don't understand. Things I've been kept in the dark about." Her voice dropped to a whisper, as if she was afraid someone might hear her. "You don't know what they've done to me, what they've made me into." Cole's heart skipped a beat. What was she talking about? What could she possibly mean? He wanted to ask, to press her for answers, but something told him that now wasn't the time. Instead, he nodded and said, "I'll stay with you, Your Highness, whatever happens." Princess Lyra gave him a small smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you, Captain. I don't know what I'd do without you." After that, things started to change. There were no more casual conversations about her past or her powers. The princess withdrew even further into herself, and Captain Cole found himself becoming more and more concerned. He had been trained to protect, not just with his body but with his instincts, and his instincts were telling him that the princess was in danger. But the danger wasn't coming from outside the palace. It was coming from within. Late one evening, after the palace had quieted down and most of the staff had gone to bed, Cole was walking down one of the long corridors when he heard something strange. It was a soft sound, almost like a whisper, but it wasn't in any language he recognized. He followed the sound until he came to a door at the far end of the hall. It was the princess's private chamber, the one she always kept locked when she wasn't there. The whispers seemed to be coming from inside. He stood outside the door, his hand resting on the handle, unsure whether he should open it. But the whispers were growing louder, more insistent, as if they were calling to him. His curiosity got the better of him, and with a deep breath he slowly turned the handle and pushed the door open. What he saw inside shocked him. The princess was standing in the center of the room, her eyes closed, her hands raised as if she were channeling something. The air around her seemed to shimmer, rippling like the surface of water. The whispers, now clearly coming from her, were louder than ever. Cole froze in place, his heart pounding. He didn't know what to do. The princess's expression was peaceful, almost serene, but the energy in the room was anything but. It felt heavy, as if the very walls of the palace were closing in on him. "Princess," he called out, his voice barely a whisper. She didn't respond. Her eyes remained closed, and the energy around her intensified. The room seemed to pulse with a strange power, and for a moment, Cole felt like he couldn't breathe. Suddenly, the princess's eyes snapped open, and the energy in the room vanished as quickly as it had appeared. She looked at him, her face pale, her breathing shallow. "Captain Cole," she said softly, her voice trembling, "you shouldn't have seen this." He stepped closer, his worry growing. "Your Highness, what is this? What's happening to you?" She lowered her hands, and for the first time he saw fear in her eyes. "I don't know what's happening, Captain, but I can feel it. Something is changing inside me, and I don't know if I can control it anymore." The princess looked so vulnerable in that moment, so lost, that Cole's heart went out to her. He wanted to help, but he didn't know how. He had never faced anything like this before. "I'll stay with you, Your Highness," he said again, his voice firm. "Whatever it is, I'll protect you." She gave him a small, sad smile. "I hope you can, Captain, because I'm not sure I can protect myself." With that, the princess turned away from him and slowly walked to the window, staring out into the night. Cole stood in the doorway, watching her, unsure of what to do next. He had always been a protector, but now he realized that the person he was meant to protect was more than just a royal figure. She was someone who had been caught in a web of secrets and dangers far beyond his understanding. As the night deepened, Cole couldn't shake the feeling that the princess was no longer just in danger from outside forces. The real danger was something much closer. Something inside her that was beginning to awaken. And whatever it was, it could change everything. The days after that night seemed to drag on, but Captain Cole couldn't shake the images of the princess and the strange power that had surrounded her. Every time he saw her, there was a part of him that wanted to ask what was going on, but something held him back. She had trusted him enough to show him a glimpse of something hidden deep inside her, something she was afraid of. But she wasn't ready to explain it all, not yet. The palace, once so serene, now felt more like a prison. The walls seemed to close in on him as he walked the halls. It was as if everyone inside was keeping their distance from him, afraid he might learn too much. Even the servants spoke in hushed tones, their faces hiding something, though he couldn't figure out what. Princess Lyra had grown quieter, withdrawn. She still attended her meetings, still carried herself with the grace expected of her. But when no one was watching, she seemed to carry an invisible weight. She rarely left her chambers now, and when she did, her eyes would always seem to be searching for something, as though she were looking for an answer in the vast sky above. Captain Cole, still guarding her from the shadows, couldn't help but wonder what the truth really was. What was hidden beneath the surface? What was it that made the princess so different from the royal figures he had guarded in the past? One evening, after the sun had dipped below the horizon, and the palace had settled into its usual quiet, he found himself walking outside to clear his mind. The moon hung low in the sky, casting soft light on the marble floors of the courtyard. There was an unusual stillness in the air tonight, almost as if the world was holding its breath. It wasn't long before he saw her again. Princess Lyra stood at the edge of the garden, her silhouette barely visible in the moonlight. Her long silver hair seemed to shine against the night sky, and she was staring at something in the distance, her gaze far away. "Your Highness!" Cole called softly, careful not to startle her. She turned, her face a mask of calm, but her eyes held something more. "Captain," she said, her voice quiet, "I wasn't expecting you. I thought I might find you out here," he said, stepping closer but still keeping his distance. "It's late, Your Highness, you should rest." "I'm not tired," she replied, her voice distant. She took a deep breath, and for a moment she looked like she might say something more, but then she hesitated. "Do you ever feel like there's something waiting for you, Captain? Something you can't see, but you know it's out there?" Captain Cole thought for a moment before answering. "I've had my share of missions, Your Highness. Some of them I've been able to prepare for, but others come out of nowhere. It's like the universe just throws you into something, and you have to face it, whether you're ready or not." She nodded slowly, her gaze returning to the horizon. "I think that's what's happening to me. Something is coming, and I don't know how to stop it." Cole felt a pang of worry. There was something in her voice, something that made it clear she wasn't just talking about an external threat. This was something inside her, something she couldn't control. "You don't have to face this alone," Cole said, his voice firm. "Whatever it is, I'll be here to help you." Lyra turned to look at him then, her eyes wide with uncertainty. "I don't know if anyone can help me, Captain. I don't even know what I'm becoming." Before he could respond, a sudden noise cut through the night, a sharp crackle that sent them both into alert mode. The sound came from the far side of the courtyard. Without thinking, Cole reached for the weapon at his side and quickly moved to investigate, Lyra following closely behind. They rounded a corner of the garden and found the source of the noise, two figures cloaked in shadow, their faces hidden behind masks. They were standing near a small, ancient-looking door that Cole had never seen before. It was one of the hidden passages that led deeper into the palace, a place only the royal family knew about. The figures didn't seem to notice them approach. One of them held something in their hands, something small and glowing. It looked like a device of some kind, and it was humming softly, sending out a faint pulse of energy. Lyra stepped forward, her expression suddenly intense, her eyes narrowing. "No," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "They shouldn't be here." Before Cole could stop her, she moved past him and approached the cloaked figures. The figures turned to face her, their expressions unreadable under the masks, but their body language was defensive. They knew who she was. "Princess Lyra," one of the figures spoke, his voice cold and mechanical. "It's time." Lyra froze, her body tense as if she had been struck. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice shaking, though she tried to keep her composure. "Time for what?" The figure raised a hand and the glowing device pulsed again. "It's time for you to awaken," he said. "The power inside you is too great to ignore. The world is ready for you to take your place." Captain Cole took a step forward, his weapon raised. "What are you talking about?" "Who are you?" The other figure's eyes flashed with something cold, something dangerous. "We are the ones who have been waiting for you, Princess, waiting for the moment when you would finally be ready. The power you hold is ancient, and it will be the key to everything." Lyra stepped back, her hands shaking. She turned to Captain Cole, her eyes wide with fear. "No, they can't know, they're not supposed to know." "Who are they?" Cole demanded, stepping in front of her, his body blocking hers. "What do you want with her?" The figure lowered his head slightly, his voice a low growl. "She has been kept hidden, kept safe, but the time is coming. She will lead us whether she understands it or not." The second figure stepped forward, raising the device higher. The air around them grew heavier, the ground beneath their feet seemed to tremble. "The princess is the key to unlocking what has been lost, and now we will make sure she doesn't forget." Cole reached for his communicator, but before he could call for backup, a sharp, sudden flash of light blinded him. When his vision cleared, the figures were gone, leaving only the faint echo of their voices behind. Lyra stood frozen, her face pale, her eyes haunted. "They've found me," she whispered. "They've known all along." Captain Cole moved toward her, his heart racing. "We need to leave now, they'll be back, and we need to figure out what this means." Lyra didn't answer him. She simply stared at the spot where the figures had been, her expression unreadable. Cole could see it now, the fear in her eyes, the uncertainty in her heart. Whatever these people were, whatever they knew, it had something to do with the power inside her, a power she didn't understand. And if they were right, if the princess truly was the key to something greater, then everything was about to change. The encounter with the mysterious figures left Captain Cole with more questions than answers. He couldn't shake the feeling that something huge was unfolding right before his eyes, but he wasn't sure how to stop it. The princess had been right to be afraid. Whoever those people were, they knew far more about her than anyone in the palace had let on. And now they were coming for her. As the days passed, the tension inside the palace grew. The once peaceful atmosphere had been replaced by an undercurrent of fear. Princess Lyra was hardly seen, often hiding away in her chambers. Her behavior had changed too. She wasn't the same confident, poised royal she had been when Cole first met her. Now she seemed lost, disconnected, as if a part of her was missing. The power that had once pulsed so faintly inside her was growing stronger, and with it, her fear. Captain Cole spent most of his time guarding the palace's outer perimeter, trying to stay vigilant for any signs of the cloaked figures or anyone who might be connected to them. But the silence around the palace was unnerving. The whispers that had filled the halls in the beginning had stopped, and even the servants seemed to avoid him. It was as if everyone knew something was coming, but no one dared to speak about it. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Cole found himself standing guard outside the princess's chambers. He hadn't seen her all day, and he was growing increasingly worried about her. She had been keeping to herself, barely speaking to anyone, including him. It wasn't like her at all. Suddenly the door to her chambers opened, and there she stood, Princess Lyra, her eyes red as though she had been crying. Her face was pale, her expression distant, and for the first time Captain Cole saw a hint of desperation in her eyes. "Your Highness," he said softly, stepping forward. She didn't immediately respond, and for a moment he wasn't sure if she had even heard him. But then she spoke in a low voice, barely audible. "Captain Cole," she whispered, "I don't know what to do anymore." He moved closer, his concern growing. "What's going on, Your Highness? You don't have to face this alone. Whatever it is, I'm here to help you." Lyra looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and sadness. "You don't understand, Captain. There's something inside me. Something that I can't control, and I think it's getting stronger." Captain Cole felt a chill run through him. He had suspected for some time that the princess was more than just a royal heir, but hearing her admit it aloud made everything feel real. Whatever was happening to her was far beyond anything he had imagined. "What do you mean, Your Highness?" he asked gently. "What is this thing inside you?" She shook her head, her silver hair falling over her shoulders. "I don't know, I don't understand it. But ever since I was a child, I've felt it, this power growing inside me, and now it's becoming too much. I can feel it. I can feel it taking over." Captain Cole's mind raced. He had to keep her calm. "We'll figure this out, Princess, I promise." She took a deep breath, her voice trembling as she spoke again. "There's more. The people who came after me, the ones you saw in the courtyard. They're not the only ones. There are others who want to use me to control what's inside me. They don't care about me. They care about the power." Cole's heart sank. He had feared that the princess's power was connected to something dangerous, but hearing her say it out loud made it feel all too real. "You're not alone in this, Princess," he said, his voice firm. "I'll protect you. We'll find a way to stop them." She looked at him then, her expression softening slightly. "I wish I could believe that, but I'm not sure anyone can protect me from this. It's too strong." Before he could respond, a loud crash echoed through the palace, followed by the sound of shouting. Captain Cole's instincts kicked in. Without thinking, he grabbed the princess by the arm and pulled her back into her chambers, locking the door behind them. The sounds of chaos outside grew louder. The palace was under attack. Cole's mind raced as he moved quickly to secure the room. He knew they couldn't stay in the palace for much longer. Whoever was after the princess had come for her, and they weren't going to stop until they got what they wanted. "We need to leave. Now," Cole said, his voice low but urgent. "Stay close to me and don't make a sound." Lyra nodded, fear evident in her eyes. She had no idea what was happening, but she trusted him. She had too. They moved quickly, making their way through the corridors of the palace, trying to avoid the sounds of fighting that echoed from every direction. Cole knew the palace inside and out, but tonight it felt like a maze, each turn leading them deeper into danger. They needed to escape. The princess's safety was his only priority now. As they reached the back exit of the palace, Cole paused, his senses alert. The night air was thick with the smell of smoke, and he could hear the distant sounds of blaster fire. The palace was under siege, but Cole had a plan. He'd set up a hidden passage that would lead them to a safe house outside the city, far away from the chaos. It was the only chance they had. "Come on," Cole whispered, pulling the princess along with him. They had to move fast. The hidden passage was close, but he wasn't sure how much time they had before their enemies caught up with them. As they neared the entrance to the secret tunnel, they were stopped by the sound of footsteps behind them. Cole spun around, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon, but the figure that stepped out of the shadows wasn't one of the palace guards. It was a man tall and cloaked in black, his face hidden beneath a mask. The air around him seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy. "You're too late," the man said in a low, rasping voice. "The princess belongs to us." Captain Cole stepped forward, blocking the princess with his body. "Stay back," he warned. "You won't take her." The man laughed, a cold, unsettling sound. "You think you can protect her? You think you can stop what's coming? The princess is part of something much larger than you can comprehend, and once the power inside her is awakened, there will be no stopping it." Lyra's face paled as she stepped back. "No," she whispered. "Not now. I can't let this happen." Cole turned to her, his eyes full of determination. "You're not alone in this, princess. Whatever this power is, we'll figure it out together." The figure stepped forward again, his eyes glowing faintly beneath the mask. "You can try," he said, "but you won't succeed." Just as the man raised his hand, ready to strike, there was a loud noise from the direction of the palace. The figure faltered, his attention momentarily distracted. Captain Cole didn't waste the opportunity. In one swift motion, he tackled the man, knocking him to the ground. "Go," he shouted to Lyra. "Run!" She hesitated, but only for a second. Then she turned and fled into the tunnel. Cole followed closely behind, leaving the figure writhing on the ground. As they ran through the dark passage, Captain Cole couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Whoever the man was, he was right about one thing. The princess was no longer just a royal heir. She was something much more powerful. And that power was going to change everything. As they moved through the narrow, dimly lit tunnel, the sound of their footsteps echoed in the silence, the only noise cutting through the tension that gripped them. Captain Cole's hand was firm on the hilt of his weapon, ready for anything that might appear in the darkness. Behind him, Princess Lyra kept close, her breathing shallow and quick as she tried to keep up with his pace. The tunnel was cold, and the walls seemed to close in tighter with each step. Captain Cole had known about this passage, but he'd never imagined using it under these circumstances. The path was supposed to be a last resort, a means of escape in case of an emergency. But as he moved forward, he couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't just running from an immediate threat. They were running from something much bigger, something that had been set in motion long before they'd even realized. He could hear Lyra's soft breaths behind him, and every so often she would stumble over the uneven floor. He could feel her fear, the way her presence seemed to hang heavy in the air around him. She had always been composed, always poised, but now she seemed fragile, like a broken doll who had been pieced together by 1,000 hands. The princess, the future of her people, was no longer just a royal heir. She was someone marked by power, by something much darker and far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. They finally reached the end of the tunnel. A heavy metal door blocked their way, its surface smooth and cold to the touch. Captain Cole quickly examined the mechanism and started working on the lock. His heart raced. They had no idea how much time they had before the people chasing them caught up. The princess was in danger, not just from the mysterious figures who had attacked them, but from something much deeper, something in her own bloodline. He glanced over his shoulder at her. Her face was pale, her silver hair a wild mess around her shoulders. Her eyes were wide, filled with fear and confusion. She was clearly struggling to make sense of what had happened. "Captain, I don't understand." "What is all of this?" Her voice trembled, and for a moment she seemed like a little girl again, someone who had been thrust into a world of terror and had no idea how to fight back. "I don't know," he replied honestly, keeping his focus on the door. "But I'll find out. And we'll deal with it together?" Lyra didn't say anything more. She just nodded, her gaze distant. She had trusted him, and that trust was all that kept them moving forward. But she didn't know how much longer she could go on like this. What if the power inside her was more than they could control? What if the enemies hunting her were too strong? The door clicked open with a soft sound, and Cole pushed it gently, revealing the outside world. The night air rushed in, cool and crisp against their skin. The landscape stretched out before them, wide, barren fields that led to the edge of the city. The safe house he had planned to take them to was just a short distance away, but the path there was anything but safe. They stepped outside and Cole motioned for Lyra to follow closely behind him. He kept his hand on the hilt of his weapon, scanning the area for any signs of movement. The quiet was unsettling. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. It was as if the world around them had paused, waiting for something to happen. As they moved through the fields, Captain Cole couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He kept glancing over his shoulder, searching for any signs of the cloaked figures or any other threats that might be lurking in the shadows. The palace's attack had been quick and brutal, and Cole knew that whoever had sent those men would not stop until they had the princess. "How far is the safe house?" Lyra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not far," Cole said, his voice steady. "Just keep close, we can't afford to stop now." They continued walking for what seemed like hours, the distance between them and the palace growing wider with each step. The ground beneath their feet grew rougher, and Cole's mind kept drifting back to the words the mysterious figure had spoken to the princess. "The power inside you is too great to ignore." What did that mean? What kind of power had the princess inherited? Was it something that could destroy them both, or was it the key to stopping everything? As they neared the edge of the field, they saw the silhouette of the safe house in the distance. It was a small, run-down building, hidden away from the main roads, tucked beneath a group of large trees. It wasn't much, but it would be enough for now. They reached the door, and Captain Cole opened it with a quiet creak. Inside, the safe house was dark and empty. The air inside smelled musty, like old wood and dust, but it was safe. It would do. Cole quickly locked the door behind them and turned to face Lyra. She was leaning against the wall, her shoulders slumped, exhaustion written across her face. He could see how much this was weighing on her, this power inside her, this feeling that she was being pulled into something she couldn't control. He walked over to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You need to rest," he said gently. "You've been through a lot tonight." Lyra looked up at him, her eyes filled with a sadness that struck him to his core. "How can I rest when I don't even know what's happening to me, when I don't know what's going to happen next?" Captain Cole took a deep breath. "We'll figure this out, together. I don't know what this power is, but I do know that it's a part of you, not something that controls you. And I'll be here every step of the way to make sure you're safe. No one is going to take you from me." For the first time in what felt like forever, Lyra smiled, though it was a small, sad smile. "I don't deserve your loyalty, Captain." "You do," he said firmly. "You're more than just a princess, Lyra. You're a person, a human being. And you deserve to be free from whatever this is." Her gaze softened. She looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and something deeper, something he couldn't quite read. "Thank you, Captain. I don't know what I would do without you." Cole nodded, then glanced toward the window, his eyes scanning the horizon. They were safe for now, but he knew it wouldn't last. The people hunting the princess were still out there, and they wouldn't give up. He had to figure out what this power inside her was, and how to control it before it destroyed them both. As he turned to face Lyra again, he noticed the faintest glow in her eyes. It wasn't much, just a small flicker, but it was there. The power that had been inside her all along was awakening, and he could feel it in the air, something ancient, something dangerous. And yet, for the first time, Captain Cole felt a sense of hope. They would figure this out together. He wouldn't let her face this alone. But the road ahead was uncertain, and danger still lurked in the shadows. Whoever was hunting the princess wouldn't stop until they had what they wanted, and Cole wasn't sure what that was yet. But he would protect her with everything he had. And if that meant facing whatever this power was, then so be it.